Hi, this video will give you a very quick demonstration of when I start JMP and how to enter data, opening existing data sets, and defining variable types and a few other little tricks to manipulate data. First off, we're going to start JMP. This is JMP 8 running on a Windows machine. If you're using a Mac, the instructions will be essentially identical, but the appearance will be just slightly different. The first thing that we're starting, and same with JMP 7 actually, will be very similar to JMP 8. The first thing that comes up when you start up JMP, unless you've selected to not show it, is the tip screen. We're not going to look at that at the moment, but it might be helpful to leave as an option if you're a new user to JMP. First thing we're going to do is show you how to enter a new data table, which is one of the choices of activities to undertake when you first open JMP. We'll click that, and there we're presented with a new data table. Instead of selecting new data table from the startup screen, at any time if you'd like to enter data, you can come up here to File and say New Data Table, and you will be presented with exactly the same screen that we can see right here, this blank empty data table. So we'll start off and we can enter data into each of the cells. Simply select the cell you'd like to enter data in and type numbers in. To move on to the next cell in a particular column, you can use the down arrow on your keyboard or the enter key on your keyboard, or simply using the mouse to go and select the next cell. So we will just continue entering some data here for a moment. We'll just enter a few rows, and just by arrowing down or pressing enter, you automatically move down to the next row. And I'm going to enter just 6 data columns here. You can now, once you've got the data in, or even before you've got the data in, you can actually change the column header to be something meaningful. And all you do is select up on the top part of the column and just double click that, and you are now able to edit the column name. And we're going to call this blood pressure. So in this case, we have 6 individuals, and we have measured the blood pressure variable on all 6 of them. If we had more than one variable measured on a set of individuals, we can add that variable to the data set simply by double-clicking to the right of our last column. So there, I just double-clicked, and we have a second column. And at this point, I'd like to enter the sex of the individuals in our sample. So we'll just type sex in there. And now we have these blank variables, these blank values for these variables that we can then type values into. So obviously you can see that the data that we're entering into JMP doesn't necessarily have to be just numbers. It can also be text. You can see also that JMP is very smart. As we talked about being able to select the type of a particular variable, it has already decided that for us, sex is to right-click on the top of the column. You can see a number of choices. You can go to modeling type, and the type of variable has already been selected as nominal. We have entered text here. It obviously cannot represent a continuous variable. It could be ordinal, but it automatically defaults to a nominal type as soon as you start entering text. We could switch it to ordinal if in fact these were ordinal categories, but text is usually nominal. And you can see that also represented over on the side with the summary of columns. This little icon here is the symbol for a nominal variable. For the blood pressure, simply select the column, right-click on it, go down to modeling type, and you can see that JMP is defaulted to a continuous variable type since we've entered a number of numbers. If you had an ordinal variable that was representing perhaps the severities of adverse events and you were entering 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in each cell, you could select the ordinal data type and it would change the symbol over here to represent an ordinal type of variable. But we'll go back here, and this is obviously continuous. We'll leave it at that. One other helpful hint is that the drag and drop sort of activity that you might be able to use from other sort of spreadsheet type programs also works in JMP. That can occasionally be helpful. You can also copy a particular cell, select several cells, or select a cell and paste values right into that cell. So that sometimes is helpful if you don't want to do data entry and you just have a bunch of repeating columns. Let me very quickly enter the remaining data here. Notice that JMP does not check the validity of the data. Obviously, we're entering sex. It can't tell that this little typo here isn't a correct value. so we do have to go back and check the data ourselves. So that's how to enter data into JMP. That should help you get started with JMP. Now once you've done the data entry, you can save this file as a JMP type of file. And you can just save it perhaps on your desktop, and you can open it again. Instead of having to do the data entry every time, you can open this data again simply by double-clicking it. And that's how you can open data that you download from the class website. For example, here's the cigarette data from the first assignment. Just download the file. In this case, I've downloaded it to my desktop, and you can simply double-click it. You will JMP, and you will open that particular data table right off the bat. From the cigarette data, you can see that it's tar and nicotine are the two variables measured on each of 35 different brands of cigarettes. You can see over in the column summary on the left, both tar and nicotine were recorded as continuous type variables, and you can proceed with any analysis that you need to do. A couple of other hints. You can do things like rearrange columns simply by coming up to reorder columns and order them alphabetically by name. You can eliminate columns, add columns, and things like that through the column or row menu. So easy to play around with. Something else that people often have a difficult time finding is the sort button, and it's actually very easy to do. Simply go up here, select sort, and you're taken to a dialog box where you can select the columns by which you would like to sort the data, and you can do it ascending or descending depending on whatever you like. And note that it creates a new data table, a sorted one. In this case, it's called Untitled 2, so that you don't overwrite your original data in case you form an inappropriate manipulation of some sort. Note also that by sorting, we have only sorted by tar increasing, not necessarily by nicotine. In this case, it appears that they're both sorted. Note there's one. Because the pairings, the rows are all remain intact, and you're only sorting by a particular column. So that is how to open and edit data in JMP, and that should